Cookie Monster's dream of being an Uber driver is quickly shattered by the realization that everyone in his world lives on the same f***ing street. As Ernie turns a P into a Na with the help of his magic wand, he also plans to turn Pakistan into rubble with the help of his other magic wand, the LGM 30 Minuteman III ballistic missile.
Bert, when we decided to raise a child you said there would be ups and downs. But with Bort, there are no ups. Only downs.
Bert is shocked as Ernie rattles off the list of all the prostitutes he's killed.
The doctors share a hearty laugh when they reveal to Mr. Johnson that he is actually on a prank show, and he isn't going to receive any heart transplant today.
A mango triggers Bert's Vietnam flashbacks while Ernie spews out random banana facts.
Girl Scout cookie season used to be Bert's favorite time of the year before he became impotent.
Ernie and Bert learn how to commit Sudoku.
Good afternoon, sir. I am generating funds for the charity Give Money to Me, which helps families who have their children held for ransom. May you please spare $1 million? Your 12-year-old son is already cooperating.
Bert can cover his eyes, but his ears still hear every last scream. Ernie's bomb was no joke.
Elmo does not know if the screaming coming from the old dry well is real or imaginary. But it sure is funny.
After spending all morning setting up his scale replica of Lower Manhattan on the day of the attacks, Big Bird begins his demonstration by giving Elmo and Zoe a short lecture on the flawed science behind the concept of heat-induced structural integrity loss in steel.
Bert and Ernie are surprised that the little girl has tread water so long with the bricks tied to her.
Cookie Monster likes to toy with his victims.
You know, Bert, since I was a kid, whenever it rained, I used to imagine that angels were lining up side by side in heaven trying to piss on me. And given how my life has been up to this point, I don't think that's much of an exaggeration.
Now that I've added milk to the cereal, tell me, is that milk now a beverage, a broth, or a sauce? Answer carefully, Mr. Johnson. Your wife's life depends on it.
Today we are making the traditional pool family dinner, Elmo.
But there's nothing in the bowl, Gordon.
Exactly.
Because Elmo didn't tag their triggers, the Martians prepare to post the longest wall of text on Tumblr so far.
Without insurance, there's only one way for Snuffy to get rid of his testicular cancer. After years of trying, Elmo and his wank blanket were finally pregnant.
Bob squeezes the life out of a frog as a way of showing Kermit what happens to anyone that gets in his way.
The Swedish chef is confident that as long as demand for his pulled pork barbecue holds out, the police will never find the bodies.
It wasn't until Bert turned his head past 180 degrees that Ernie realized his friend was, indeed, possessed.
Elmo watches from his villa as police divers pull body after body from the ocean floor. Elmo isn't sure who this Bay Harbor butcher person is, but Elmo sure is relieved the police are pinning that dead hooker he dumped in the bay last night on him.
After a hard day fighting hate on the internet, Miss Piggy rewards herself with some genetics.
Kermit is overcome with joy that not only is God a white male, but that marijuana plants grow all over heaven.
Mr. Johnson tries to report a monster on the wing of the plane, but the real monster was inside the plane. It was Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson touched kids. Also, he was a werewolf.
Cookie Monster decides to wait until early in the morning to post his stupid nonsense so he can get the maximum amount of upvotes and feel better about himself.
Ernie switches their new 60-inch TV to a Rambo film in an attempt to trigger Bert's Vietnam flashbacks.
Grover mocks Mr. Johnson by dressing up as his dead wife.
Cookie Monster screams in horror as Elmo's trip on bath salts takes a turn for the worse.
Big Bird explains to Elmo that he's in the wrong motherfucking neighborhood. Then he proceeds to shank him for his trike.
Every day, Bert makes lunches for the 2 children who live in the apartment next to his. Their mother is a crack addict, and Bert knows how people like that can be. His mother had been an alcoholic. So Bert took it upon himself to pack their lunches for them every day before school. It was the only way Bert could be sure they were eating. One day, they didn't come pick up their lunches. They didn't come the next day either. Eventually, Bert got worried and called a truant officer to check on them. Shortly afterwards, the police came out as well. Then, unfortunately, so did the coroner.